Okay, so what I wanted to get into was how to build the calculator. So there's some things we should already know about, and we should already have kind of an idea of how to build the calculator. And one of the things we know that we need is we need a place to store the current typed information. So we need to create a variable, and I'm just going to call it calc display. And then we need to have some functions. So function add display number. And we talked about doing this where we could do it with number 1, and there's no parameters, and we just say calc display equals calc display plus 1, and forget to set this up to quote quote. And so this will increment our text. We can also use, and we could do this and replicate it for all of these and add it plus 2. We could do it this way, but that's not really efficient. So one of the things we've been learning about is adding parameters. And so I'm going to add just display number, and I'm going to put in number, and that's basically a number we're going to pass in. And we'll get to how to do that in a minute. The other thing is we actually need to create our calculator here, so we need to create some buttons. So input type equals button, and the value is what's going to display on the button itself. So we have 1, and we'll repeat this 2, 3, and then we'll do the multiply, and then we'll do the line so that we have a break line in there. And then we can keep repeating that. 3, 4, and then a break, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and then br slash, that's the break. This is the wrong break. Br slash. That gives us 3, and we should have 4 rows of that, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And then of course we can go back up and go 1, 2, 3, and we'll use multiply. 4, 5, 6, we'll use divide. 7, 8, 9, we'll use plus. And then on the bottom we usually have clear, or we'll just use C for clear, 0, a blank equals, and then minus. So there we should have our calculator. It looks somewhat like that. Now in order to use this number to add on to the calc display, we have to use onClick, and the onClick is essentially the event that lets us interact the HTML side with the JavaScript side. And so we're going to call the add display number, and this is the number 1. So we're going to pass this number 1 in here, and this parameter is going to equal to number 1, and we can use that parameter then down here. So our calc display will equal the calc display plus 1, and we can repeat this as many times as we need. So that will add our calc display, and this will be 2 and 3. And we can alert the calc display when we're done by doing alert calc display. Okay, and this is our this is going to be basically announce what the calc display is equal to. So if we type in 2, it's worth 2. We type in 1, it's 2, 1, 3, so on and so forth. And we can keep doing that. So this is our output. So we've got our kind of input, which is actually clicking on the buttons, and it puts the number in. And then we have our output here of the alert. So there we go. So we've created a function that takes a parameter, and it will add that to the calc display, and then, of course, alert it. There's other functions we want to do, such as clear display. And we'll add that in there. And we know we want to do that on the clear display button. So we'll go on click equals clear display. And all we want to do with the clear display is reset that calc display equal to nothing. So that'll clear the display. So now we should be able to go through and go 1, 2, 1, 3, And if we clear the display, it'll reset it. So we can go back to 3, 2, right, 1, and it clears the display. So now we have two simple functions of adding numbers and, adding numbers to the display and clearing the display. Now what we need to do is we actually have to go in and we have to start doing some of the math functions. And when we think about how math works on a calculator, usually it stores the value and then it saves that whatever was on the display somewhere in its memory. So we have to create a saved value somewhere. And then you can type in a second number. So you'll type in a number, hit the plus sign, it will save that value, and when you start typing in another number, it will reset the calc display and use a different value. So, and then when you hit equals, it will remember that. And so we also need to keep track of what function was pressed. So function pressed and equals, and we're going to make this a numeric function. So 0 means no function is pressed, 1 will be plus, 2 will be minus, and so on and so forth. So because you could do this with the multiply, the divide, the plus, and the minus, where you type a number in, hit that button, it saves the value, and then when you hit equals, it does the calculation. So we need to do function, let's do plus pressed, or let's actually just do math function, because we're going to use a parameter, which is which function we want to use. So we'll use n function to set it to a number, numeric function. And when we do so, we can say, okay, on the star, on click, equals math function, and this will be, we'll make that 1, why not? So multiply will be 1, so on and so forth. Divide will be math function, oops, on click, equals math, oops, math function, and we'll do 2. All right, so that should pass it in there. So the first thing we want to do is let the computer know which function we have just pressed, equals n function. Okay, so it'll now save that for us so that it can remember whether we pressed 1 or whether we pressed 2. So that's the first thing we want to do, is let it know. The second thing we want to do is save that value. So set the saved value equal to the calc display. And then we want to clear the display, so we can actually just call our previous one here of clear display. So that will take our number, it will save it, and then it will clear it. And 2, 1, and then if we hit star, it will clear it. And we can alert these. So we can do saved value, and then plus, and we'll use the saved value. And we can also alert the calc display. So calc display, and we'll use colon there so it's easy to read. Okay, so now we can go through it and we can go 2, okay, 3, and then do star. Say save value is 23, the display is now reset. So essentially what we've done is we said, okay, store whatever function we've done, and set the saved value to the calc display, and then clear the display so that we can start typing in the new number. And if you wanted to, you could even alert the function pressed. Function plus function pressed. Okay, so that we know now what all of that stuff is. Whoops. Semicolon on the outside, people. And now if we do it 3, 6, or, oops, I only did 2. I didn't have 6 yet. Didn't work because I don't have my algorithm. And I hit star. Function 1, that's multiply. The saved value is 32, the new value is nothing. So now we have the saved value, and now all we need to do is do the equals. So this is where it's going to get a little bit more complex. Function, I'm going to call it equals value. So what happens when we press the equals button? And if we think about this, we basically need to figure out the function and go from there. So here we'll just do onClick equals value. Okay, and so that'll call our equals value function. So to do this in order, we need to figure out what was pressed. Our two values, which we know are saved value and calc display, and then we need to do the math function. So we need to say if, we can do this a couple ways, but we're going to do it if the function pressed equals 1, and then facey brackets so that we know it's going to do a series of actions. We can do an alert, so we just output the value, right? And it equals the saved value multiplied by the calc display. And that's it. So that will do the multiply for us. And let's give it a go. So if we do 1, 3, 2 times, we all know that, 2 equals, it gives us 264. So it figures it out. One thing we need to do is we need to say equals equals, because we're doing an absolute comparison. So I made that slight mistake. We can then repeat this if statement for the different functions and do if it equals 2, then we do the divide, right? So if we want to do 1, 2, 1 divided by, saves the function 11, stores the value, resets the display, and then we start creating our new value. Our second value is 11, and we hit equals, it gives us 11, because 121 divided by 11 is 11. And that's it. And we could repeat this for 4 all the way. And that's all you need to do for now is get a working calculator.